Enjoy the Southern Urban Experience on Mzansi Urban Radio.
Today, as you see, we're outside, we're jolly, we're happy, and we are talking to the MEC of Education in Northwest. Her name is Viola Motsumi. Good afternoon, Miss Motsumi, and thank you very much for gracing our studios and for joining us today.
No, good afternoon, sir, and also let me take this opportunity to extend my greetings to all listeners of Mzansi Urban Radio.
Yeah, you sound like you can be a Mzansi Urban Radio presenter. So perhaps after your role as an MEC, you must come to Mzansi Urban Radio.
No, definitely.
And spin some discs.
No, definitely.
So first of all, congratulations on your appointment as an MEC. I was talking to my colleagues here, and they were saying this is a fairly new appointment to you. How do you feel about it?
As much as I'm excited, but also I must indicate that already I'm experiencing so many challenges in the department where it seems like everything is falling apart because of the systems. We are confronted with challenges whereby across the province, when it comes to school-based posts, there is a high volume of vacancies there. And then you go to your provincial offices there at the level and the district offices there. There's also high volume of vacancies there. So you could imagine. And at the same time as the MEC of Department of Education, as you all know that our mandate is very clear. It's curriculum. And the people who are closer to our constituency, which is our learners, is our educators. So if we've got that high volume of vacancies at the level of school-based posts, it becomes a problem in terms of support. Yeah.
So, the challenges are, as you say, plenty. Clearly, you come into the office with a plan, with a vision of how to solve those challenges. What are your, I don't know whether you've made your first 100 days, but when you look back in the 100 days, what are the key things that you want to have solved as an MEC?
No, okay, let me start by encouraging our listeners out there to say that they must just join my Facebook page. I've got my Facebook page.
Yes.
They will be able to trace progress registered since I became the MEC of Education. The strategy that I've been using all along, first and foremost, what I've done, I've been convening greet and meet between myself as the MEC of Department of Education and the principals and our educators.
Absolutely.
Because remember, I've mentioned, Hore, they are the ones who are closer, who are doing service delivery on behalf of the Department of Education. So that is the first step. And I don't want to lie to you, based on the meet and greet, I've managed to pick up so many things. They've given me an idea where to start. I gave them an opportunity also to raise the concerns and the challenges that they are subjected to every day in their classrooms. And I've managed to consolidate my report. Then I know where to start. Because like I said, I'm going to concentrate on curriculum. And I've realized that most of our educators and principals are now being defocused. Because instead of focusing on their work as educators, they are focusing on making sure that the conditions regarding the infrastructure of their schools are not in good conditions. When there is a shortage of stationery, instead of being at class teaching our learners, now they are focusing on making reports to the provincial office, seeking intervention regarding the issues of stationery. So at least I've gathered all the information that I wanted. Then from here, what I'm supposed to do is to sit down with management. They must come and account to check what is the reason behind these particular challenges, because it's not like we're not having a budget. We do have a budget, but because of issue of lack of planning and issue of lack of monitoring, hence the very same educators are subjected to the challenges that they are subjected to.
I'm definitely aware of those meet and greet, because I was told that in one of the meet and greet, it was clearly spoken that heads will roll. You were clear, your message was clear to say, guys, back to the curriculum. And I'm actually happy that you're saying more administrative burdens on our principals, but more focus on delivering the curriculum. So, I'm just saying that our heads starting to roll. Are you pursuant to that? How are you being received, particularly around those meet and greets? Are people very responsive to your message of, guys, let's work, otherwise heads would start to roll?
So far, one can confirm that progress has been registered. And indeed, I meant it when I said heads must roll, because it is also my responsibility as the executive authority of making those who are supposed to account for their responsibilities. I'm going to give you a practical example. When I came in, there was somebody who was appointed as the acting chief director of infrastructure. Look what is happening across the province. I've been waiting for reports regarding the conditional assessment regarding our different schools. I have not received any. That is why I was forced to do what? To change that particular person, because remember, he was occupying that particular position on an acting basis. And you look also in terms of qualifications, you'll find that most of our officials actually are not qualified to be in those strategic positions. So I had no choice but to change that particular person and put somebody who will be able to deliver.
Absolutely.
There was a CFO. We have challenges in terms of making sure that our schools are being built on time, because also it is his responsibility, because he's dealing with issues of finances of our department. There were no progress registered. I had no choice but to change him because he was also on a acting position. I had to seek secondment from Treasury, because they've got expertise when it comes to dealing with finances of the Department of Education. So I did manage to get that assistance from Treasury. We do have a newly acting appointed CFO who's currently occupying that particular position, and I can confirm that since he came to the department, at least progress has been registered in terms of that.
Ms. Motsumi, it sounds like the new, we should take that title from Nomvula Mkonyam and give it to you. Oh yeah, Mama Action. Looks like you are in serious action. You're not playing games. You are putting action, and you are backing your words with action, which is something that is very encouraging.
When I was deployed as the MEC of Department of Education, my commitment was very clear to say that I'm here to make a change. I'm here to make a difference. I know that challenges are there, but also it's my responsibility as the newly appointed MEC to make an impact to the Department of Education. So I was very clear when I became the MEC to say that I'm ready to serve our people. And you must also understand that when you talk of education, Department of Education, we are talking about future of our children. So hence it is very important for us to invest more and focus more on that particular department. So I'm very clear.
No, I can see that. And as I said, you are Mama Action. You are a former, educator yourself?
Yes.
Maths and science?
Yes.
When you look at the province, the maths and science situation, our output as a province in terms of and performance, what sort of intervention do you think should be made, and how do you plan on handling specifically the maths and science situation?
Okay. It was yesterday when I was having this meet and greet with a principal for secondary schools in Ngakamudri Mulema. Then it happened that I invite RCL president, is a learner from Ridiboni Secondary School. That learner was very clear and straightforward, and he asked me a very difficult question to say that, but MEC, looking at your background, you are a maths and science educator. And then when it comes to especially physical sciences, when it comes to sciences, it's all about practicals. So you look across the province, most of our schools, whom are being regarded as science schools, they don't have science labs. So how do you expect those particular schools to perform accordingly? Because those particular learners must be exposed to practicals in order for them to perform according to what is expected from us.
Yes.
So this is one of the issues that he has raised. And I did make a commitment to that RCL president to say that we are still going to relook at the assessment, the conditional assessment report, and then to check and do our own audit to check how many schools are out there without science labs. But at the same time, I'm trying my level best to strengthen the relationship between the department and our HGBs, because you go to most of our schools, the science labs were there. There were computers, there were apparatus, instruments there in those particular science labs. But people, they chose to steal those particular computers, tablets, and also the instruments in terms of physical science. So that's where I'm going to start. For now, until we have proper science labs across the schools that are being regarded as science schools, that's the only way that we can even produce scientists and also perform well in terms of maths and science.
The issue of communities not owning up on these equipment, not owning up on these labs, it's a big one. And I'm glad you're also touching on that, because communities have to find a sort of ownership on this and make sure that they protect them and make sure that the learners can access to them. It can never be something that remains with government only, but somehow communities must find a way of protecting that. I want you to talk to those communities today, MEC, and speak directly to them on the issue of protecting the investment you are making into those communities.
No, thank you very much once again for the opportunity, but also to indicate to our community members out there that Department of Education is one of the departments that is very unique, because we are dealing with future of our future leaders of tomorrow. And then my plea is one. I admit that they do have their own frustrations, especially when it comes to issues of service delivery across the province. But it can be correct that we resort to stealing our learners' instruments, because those instruments are there for a purpose. Those instruments are being bought using a budget. So once they steal, once they ban, they go to a level of even banning the very same science labs in our schools. And that thing really, it will not change the status quo regarding our province. We want to move forward, and we want to pride ourselves in terms of issues of education. And the only way for us as the Department of Education to be successful, for us to produce better results, not only better results, but quality results, and produce future leaders of tomorrow, is when the community members work in hand with the Department of Education. So I'm calling to them to say that I'm pleading with them that they must join hands with the Department of Education, where they can see that there is a threat, because some people are thugs and now hiding behind this protest. If they can see that there is a threat somewhere, it is their responsibility also to make sure that they protect our schools at all times, because the future of our learners depend on our schools.
Two more last items that I want to talk to MEC, and I can see that you do need a break. So I'm going to ask two last questions.
Okay.
The first one is the issue of, volunteerism. You spoke about it there, and you mentioned it, to the teachers today here. And so you are aware of their effort, you are aware of the work that they're doing, and you are aware that some of them have to, I think I heard you saying that some of them have to go extra classes, and because of various challenges. You encourage them to say to them, hold on, keep giving the support that you are giving to the learners, because you want to take the department further and the province further. When do we translate from volunteerism to proper rewards? When do we get the teachers and everybody else to be, fully remunerated for the efforts that they're doing?
What a very difficult question.
We should not just thank them for their spirit of volunteerism. We should find other ways of saying to them that indeed you are doing well, but we also want to see your bank balance doing better as well.
No, that's true. Already I've pronounced on the issue of promotional posts. Let's start there first. Number one, there are temporary teachers currently in our department who are being employed by the department on a temporary basis. I've taken a stance to say that as a token of appreciation, what needs to be done, our HR directorate must start now opening that process of making sure that they absorb them on a permanent post. That is number one, because I'm showing the appreciation there. So they don't have to go through interviews. As long as the principals will be able to attest to say that these are one of the educators who are committed, and the reason why we are performing, it is because of through their efforts, then automatically those particular educators must be converted to the permanent posts. That is number one.
Yes.
And the other thing also that I've pronounced since I became the MEC as a token of appreciation to our educators was that those who have been acting, we must start now to make sure that we advertise those particular posts. And then by advertising them, it means that we must prioritize them, because there was somebody voluntarily like acting on a temporary basis on that particular post, and then putting more efforts regardless of the fact that he or she is volunteering on that particular post. We have made sure that starting from the next financial year, we must start now to advertise all those particular posts, and we must prioritize our people internally as a token of appreciation. Then you went further to ask about those who are going extra mile in making sure that they have a contact time with our learners in order to improve the results. What we are doing currently, we are engaging with different stakeholders. We do have our mines, we do have your Old Mutual, and then that's where our parents are investing most on. And then we do have our MTN, we do have our Vodacom. We are buying tablets from the very same stakeholders. So we are starting to open discussions to check how best can they assist us in making sure that those who are going extra mile, they can be given something, or we rather said we encourage our educators to open extra lessons where we'll be able to engage our parents to say that here's a maths teacher who's willing to expose or subject your child to extra classes. So why not maybe paying a certain amount of money just as a token of appreciation? For now, I don't want to lie to you. I'm one person who we are having challenges in terms of our budget constraints, because you look even at our budget, we are being allocated 20 billion. You look at that 20 billion, you'll find a large chunk of that budget goes to salaries. And then we are still experiencing challenges of infrastructure and so on.
Absolutely.
So we are going to try to find ways of making sure that they are being rewarded until we reach that particular point where, as the department, we have capacity of paying them.
Well said, MEC. Final question from my side. Load shedding. This is the year of load shedding almost. We've been dealing with COVID for the past 2 years. This year the challenge is load shedding, and it has a clear impact on the service delivery from your point of view, teaching and learning, classes being disrupted and so forth. What are we doing about load shedding, and are we thinking of particular interventions?
No, we must come up with interventions, because whether we like it or not, the load shedding also disrupts teaching and learning. And then you must also remember that some of us, Tina, we were taught when we were still schooling to say that after hours, it is now your time to study and prepare yourself for tomorrow's lesson.
Absolutely.
And also to write your classworks and your homeworks and whatsoever. But unfortunately, because of load shedding, it also contributes to us not performing accordingly. So as the department, what we are doing now, we had an EXCO meeting last with the premier, and had an opportunity also to have a one-on-one with him, just to brief him in terms of the performance and in terms of the plans, our plans for this academic year. So those are one of the issues that we have raised with the premier. We have to start to open discussions with the relevant MEC or finance to check how best can they assist us in making sure that we go for solar, because we can see this load shedding is here to stay. So we have to come with ways of making sure that at least we intervene where necessary. And also to add on that, this load shedding, as much as Banaba Safara and whatsoever, I must also indicate that we are experiencing challenges where all of a sudden there's a high rate yadi bills to ESCOM. So we are also looking at that particular matter where there's a load shedding, but at the same time, as the department, we are expected to pay a large amount of money to ESCOM. We were forced to pay close to 90-something million last week to Matlosane local municipality, because ESCOM was very clear and straightforward to say that if they don't settle that bill, they are going to make sure that they cut the electricity across the district there. So we have to go for issue of solar, but it's going to take long, because we are talking about money here. So it means that some budget must be redirected to deal with that particular issue. So, and then I would like to welcome all the inputs and proposals from you and our community members in terms of how to handle this issue of load shedding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ms. Motsumi, for your time.
Thank you very much.
And
sir.
all the best with your work. I think from what we've had here today, you have your hands on deck. You're already working. And keep up the work. I mean, be a shining star for us so that we can then look at you proudly and say, we are indeed making an impact and our leaders are doing the most. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, sir. It's not going to be easy, but definitely we have to push. We don't have time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.